Geo mains unite, Navia is here. There's going to be a new toy for mono Geo comps, right? What if I told you that's not what Navia is going to be doing for you at all? Yeah, that feels a little bad. So if that's not the case, then what is Navia good at? Navia is going to be pretty good, I think, just not in mono Geo teams. In fact, she's kind of almost like not an element character at all. She's Geo, so you can't buff her damage up with stuff like the Animo, Viridescent Venmer set, or a lot of other options in that way. She's also an attack scaling Geo character, so the likes of characters like Goro aren't going to do that much for her, and the likes of characters like Yunjin aren't going to do a ton either, as she's more elemental skill and elemental burst focused and not really normal attack focus. Her elemental skill is going to lead you to do big, huge damage. 2 uses, even at Constellation 0, is something that I personally like to see a lot. And this skill is going to do bonus damage and more shots and more damage the more crystallization shards you are able to pick up. You're going to want to pick up at least 3 of these shards, as picking up 3 shards is going to give you 3 crystal shrapnel, which is going to allow her to shoot 11 shots of her shard shot elemental skill. If all of her shots, all 11 of them, hit the same target, it's going to do 200% of the bonus damage dealt, meaning that she's going to have a huge amount of burst damage from her elemental skill. And this thing only has a 9-second cooldown. But that doesn't stop there, because when you consume more than 3 crystal shrapnels, you consume all the way up to 6 of them, you're going to increase the damage by Gunbrella, because in addition, when more than 3 charges of crystal shrapnel are consumed, every charge consumed beyond those 3 will increase the damage dealt by this Gunbrella shot by an additional 15%. And it doesn't end there, because there's even a hold mode that's going to help you quickly collect some crystallization shard reaction crystals off of the field, suck them up, and use that as ammo in case you don't want to walk over and pick them up with her naturally. Oh, and one more thing, she's going to have an Ascension passive called Undisclosed Distribution Channels, where you're going to get 4 seconds of imbue for her normal, charged, as well as plunging attacks to Geo damage, and it cannot be overridden by other elemental infusions. This also is going to increase her damage of her normal, charge, and plunging attacks by 40%, meaning that with 2 uses of your elemental skill, you can have up to 8 seconds of infusion in field time, using her as a hyper carry of sorts, mixing in elemental skills with normal and charge attacks, and also her elemental burst. Oh yeah, her burst. Let's talk about that real quick. Her elemental burst is pretty straightforward. It has a 60 energy cost, and it's going to unleash a massive cannon bombardment on opponents in front of her, dealing AoE Geo damage while also providing additional cannon fire support for a duration afterwards. And this fire support is going to periodically deal additional Geo damage to nearby opponents. When this cannon fire support hits, she's going to gain 1 charge of her crystal shrapnel towards her elemental skill. And you can gain 1 of these charges every 2.4 seconds out of the 12 seconds that the cannon fire support is going to last. So in some instances like the Abyss, you're going to be able to start with her elemental burst and use some other characters that provide off-field elemental damage, such as Xingqiu or Yelan, to generate some crystallization reactions, but also generate ammo directly from her elemental burst as well. So let me razor language her rotation to you real quick. It won't take but a second. Her rotation, at least this is going to be a napkin rotation, is very easy to do as long as you have someone applying off-field applications of different elements. Think someone like Xingqiu or Yelan to apply Hydro, or Raiden, Shogun, or Fischl to apply Electro. You'll start with those characters, swap into your Navia, use your Navia's elemental burst. Your Navia's elemental burst is going to do 2 things. It's going to do Geo damage, but it's also going to give you crystal shrapnel towards your elemental skill. But also on top of the actual crystal shrapnel you're getting, because you're doing Geo plus Hydro or Geo plus Electro with your supports, you're going to also generate actual crystallization shard reactions that you can then suck up with your elemental skill on Navia and fire off that full 6-round crystal shrapnel. This is going to do huge damage and also give you 4 seconds of infusion on your Navia. This is going to allow you to do Geo damage with your normal and charged attacks. All this time, your elemental burst is still raining down Geo damage, allowing you to generate more crystallization shard reactions. And on top of just your elemental burst, your normal and charged attacks are now Geo as well. This is going to allow you to generate additional crystallization shards, pick those up, and in that 4-second window of your infusion, you'll generate enough crystallization shards to get a decently powerful elemental skill off once again, leading to another 4-second window of infusion for your Navia. Once that 4-second window is done, you can swap back out to your other characters, whether it's Xingqiu, Yelan, Raiden, Shogun, Benny Boy, whoever it is that you want, use all of their supportive skills again, and then swap back into Navia, ready to rock and roll once more. She's not going to be your traditional Geo-centric character. She's going to be sort of almost like an elementless character. She just wants the crystallization shard reaction. She doesn't really work super well with other Geo characters. You can use someone like Zhongli to protect her and increase the amount of crystallization shards you can get from his pillar, or someone like Albedo. But outside of that, you're kind of just using her with non-Geo characters to just do big damage and be this hyper carry queen that we all know and love. So if you're a mono Geo main, you just loving mono Geo teams, she's probably not going to be a character for you. And this is also represented in one of her passive talents, which is going to give you 20% increased attack for each Pyro, Electro, Cryo, or Hydro party member you have in your party. This is going to allow you to run her with one other Geo character if you so desire, probably Albedo or Zhongli, and then it's going to allow you to run 2 non-Geo characters, non-Dendro characters, non-Animo characters to get that increased 40% attack from her passive. This is all at Constellation 0, and she reminds me of a big burst nuke who just does some additional uptime field DPS. She actually reminds me of the hyper ride and carry playstyle where you swap in Raiden Shogun after you've popped Benny or Kujo Sara stuff, you do the big damage with your elemental burst, and then you have that 7 seconds or so of field time with your Raiden Shogun. Navi's gonna have that 8 seconds due to her elemental infusion. Those there's gonna be some animations locking you between using your 2 different elemental skills. And she's gonna have her own signature weapon that's going to have crit rate as the main stat, which could be awesome. It's gonna give you a ability that gives you increased attack 20% and refinement rank 1, and then it's gonna give you a stacking damage bonus every time you pick up crystallization elemental shards from these reactions. Each of these is going to give you 18% increased damage. You can have a total of 36% increased damage at refinement rank 1. Once you use your elemental skill though, you're going to lose this 36% bonus damage until you pick up 2 more shards, which if you followed along the little rotation we just went through, plays exactly perfectly with that rotation. However, you're not going to need this weapon, which is a blessing in disguise, because unlike someone like Noelle or Arataki Ito that comes with weird, unique weapons that can only be used for them, such as the Red Horn Stone Thresher, being an attack scaling character like Navia is, you can use something like the Wolf's Gravestone or even the Unforged, because even if you don't have a shielder in your team, you're still going to be generating those crystallization reactions, and this is going to allow you to have a shield of some kind because they do count, allowing you to get the double attack bonus from the Unforged. So you shouldn't have any trouble really finding a weapon to use on this character. When you're looking at artifact sets, the brand new Geo set that's also releasing in patch 4.3 is perfect for Navia. It's going to give you 2-piece 18% attack, and the 4-piece bonus is going to give you 50% Geo damage as long as you're picking up crystallization reaction crystals, which you're going to be doing with Navia. 4-piece Hunter set is going to be fantastic for you as well if you're using Farina as one of your off-field Hydro appliers. It's going to give you normal and charge attack damage increased, which you will use while you have Geo Infusion, but it's also going to give you that very important 36% crit chance, allowing you to hit really high attack, crit chance, and crit damage ratios on your Navia, while also getting your very important energy recharge amount so you can gain access to that 60 cost burst. And I'm going to throw this in here so you're not mistaken. Don't look at the old Geo sets like Opulent Dreams, etc. It's not going to be that great of a set for Navia. She is a Geo character, but she's an attack scaling character. And honestly, the most sad thing about Navia is that those are pretty much the only sets that work well with her. Her being an attack scaling Geo character means she doesn't work well with the old Geo sets like we just talked about, while her being an elemental skill focused attack scaling character means that there's not a ton of other sets that are going to work well with her either, as she's Geo element. Or you can even try your hands in a big nuke build using the Golden Troop set. Just bring her out, use your skill, leave, come back, use your skill again, don't use any of the Geo infusion. Someone's going to do it. It's going to be a YouTube thumbnail somewhere, I'm sure. And being a Geo character that doesn't really synergize with other Geo characters leaves you open to a lot of flexible team compositions with this character. You can use someone like we talked about, Yelan, Raiden, Shogun as your off-field damage dealers. You also have the ability to use Bennett because she is an attack scaling character, and he works very well with these burst damage oriented characters. Basically, the sky's the limit, so don't be afraid to try things out when she does release. Let me know your thoughts on Navia down below. Are you disappointed that she's not going to work that well with mono Geo teams? Are you excited that you can use a Geo character in other ways finally? I'm pretty interested in that, so make sure you tell me down there. She's so Taylor Swift.